Okay, and we're live, and I'm back with another stream to take a look at this wonderful article here on Mashable, and it is 5 accidentally transphobic phrases allies use and what to say instead. So they're gonna tell allies today why their language is problematic and what we should be saying instead. Oh boy. Why do we need a flag for every little thing now? I don't know if anybody's seen, but Tumblr has quite a few different variations of pride flags, as they're called. Each one a little bit dumber than the last. But let's dive right in. Words can be tricky, especially when you're an ally, or, when you don't have a Tumblr account and you don't know all of the latest of the social justice lexicon. As transgender lives and experiences increasingly come into the public sphere, really, our conversations about gender are getting more complex. And with those conversations comes the realization that we don't always know what to say when describing trans identities. Probably because there's like 60,000 identities and it's impossible to know who identifies as what anymore. And when you make it the most important aspect of your being, well, to me, that just says you're not a very interesting person. But this learning curve offers a chance for us to get a little more inclusive and intentional with what we say. It's an opportunity that, for allies, is as essential as it is complicated. Someone remind me why this is essential again? Susan Stryker, which with a last name that sounds like she belongs in a old school Nintendo game, director of the Institute for LGBT Studies at the University of Arizona. Why is that a thing? Is critical of what she calls language policing, judging word usage without taking intent into account. Well, that actually sounds pretty reasonable. When it comes to allies, Stryker says intentions are often good, but wording may rub some members of the community the wrong way. People, with nothing better to do than get insulted by everybody else's wording. If someone is saying only slightly non-inclusive phrases, they are probably trying to do the right thing, she says. I think the trans person should understand the intention behind the act and then, maybe at some point, address it. Address it how? By saying kill all cis people or something stupid like that? People who are transgender should be called by the name and gender they wish. You might not agree with them, but they still deserve respect. Yeah, I mean, that's... As long as somebody is being respectful to you, I see no reason why you can't extend them the same courtesy. You might not think it's a valid lifestyle, but I don't really think there's a reason to attack somebody unless they are being aggressive towards you. For those in socially disempowered positions, being able to define how you're spoken about can be really powerful, Stryker says, but in addressing language that can be non-inclusive, it is important to move toward a goal of education, not alienation. I feel like whenever these things are discussed, they kind of ignore context. I mean, you're not always going to be able to be inclusive in absolutely everything you say, especially when the context of the topic you're discussing has nothing to do with any of these, types of identities. For example, I often saw on Tumblr back in the day, people would be talking about, say, their relationship. They happen to be straight, and they would speak from the viewpoint of a traditional man and woman straight relationship. And then, you'd see somebody reblog the post and say something like, what about gay people? What about trans people? They're people too. They have relationships. And it's like, okay, but somebody's talking about their personal experience. They happen to be straight. There's no reason to bring up any of those other identities because it's not part of the context of the topic. It just makes no sense. It's about creating a space you can go deeper into the issue rather than trying to police speech in a way that shuts down learning and awareness. Okay, once again, that sounds pretty reasonable. The ally has to not be defensive. Wait, what? The ally has to not be defensive? They have to say, "Oh, I just said this thing that othered you. It's interesting that I enacted my privileged position. I just learned something. Thank you." Who the fuck talks like that? I'm serious. Has anybody, let's just stop for a moment here. Has anybody ever said anything like that in a day-to-day conversation? I really want to know. Leave a comment in the box below once this stream is over. If you're an ally who wants to acknowledge and improve upon your language missteps, educate yourself on 5 ways your speech may unintentionally marginalize transgender people and how to fix it. They always use these words that make it sound like they're saying so much when really they're saying nothing at all. And it's always educate yourself. But at least Mashable is kind enough today to leave us these 5 ways in which we can educate ourselves. So let's continue on and, let's get educated. Let's be inclusive. Let's be sensitive to identities that do not fit the so-called gender binary. Using the phrase preferred pronoun. Okay. All right. Before I even go any further on this one, preferred pronoun was their language, and now they're going to tell us that it's the wrong one to use. But let's find out why. Pronouns are a big deal. No, they're really not, and rightfully so. No, once again, they're the definitive way we acknowledge and respect a person's gender in everyday conversation. We all know using pronouns that honor a trans person's gender is top priority to be a good ally. Why is that top priority? Like, I don't understand why it is that when it comes to the trans community, that their gender is the most important thing about them. I thought they were just people like everybody else and they wanted to be equal. But instead, gender is the most important thing. It's top priority to always recognize that gender and check that privilege. But often when talking about why correct usage is important, we use the phrase preferred pronoun to describe a person's terms. Yeah, you think that might be because that's what they prefer to be known as? Using preferred to qualify someone's pronouns suggests that terms they are claiming don't really belong to them. No, you're reading into this the wrong way. They are just preferred over their true pronouns. In reality, a trans man, it's, oh my God, that word looks so funny for some reason. Using he as a pronoun doesn't just prefer that word over she. That is the only pronoun that is acceptable to use in reference to him. Well, I mean, that's a matter of opinion. I won't say that, I'm not going to go out of my way to be disrespectful or insulting to people that aren't being dicks to me, but I know a lot of people don't appreciate that kind of reasoning. The fix. Oh, tell us. Instead of asking someone's preferred pronouns, ask, what pronouns do you use? It's a small yet substantial difference. It's the biggest fucking nitpick I've ever seen in my life. Oh, man. I'm getting a headache. I really am. Okay. 2, saying someone was born a boy/girl. Okay, I'm done. I can't. I don't even know what to say to this. Are you crazy? Now it's problematic that people were born as boys and girls? Oh my God. Damn you, nature. Damn you and your oppressive ways. Let's try to get through this. No matter how old a transgender person is when they come out, it's important to acknowledge that they may feel their gender has always been the same one they are just now publicly claiming. To explain this concept, Stryker quotes Simone de Beauvoir. I don't even know. Beauvoir. One is not born, but rather becomes a woman. Stryker explains that nobody is truly born a boy or a girl. The whole becoming a woman thing, that might be problematic to trans people as well, because I've often seen the term, oh, she became a woman when a girl reaches puberty and starts her menstruation cycle for the first time. And they say, oh, today she became a woman. Well, trans women don't get their periods. So Aren't you being a bit problematic right now? Okay, let's see. Stryker explains that nobody is truly born a boy or a girl. Oh, well, that's news to me. Rather, we evolve to truly claim those or other gender markers as our own. Saying someone was born a boy or a girl suggests they were inherently one gender, but chose to be another. Um, okay. I thought that that's basically what being a trans person meant when you really got down to it. You know, they were born one way, but they feel they are another way. They feel they are truly something else. And now nobody is born a boy or a girl. Since when? Who says this? We are all assigned male, female, or intersex at birth. I really like how they had to throw intersex in there as though, you know, I know it was to be inclusive, but as though that is something that's like so common and become the people we are. The fix. Use the phrase assigned male slash female at birth instead. Yeah, you know, because we all just, it's like a science project. You know, we just get this stuff handed out to us and we get assigned to it. But later on, you know, if we decide that, that we don't want to be that anymore, we can just take on something else. This phrasing respects the true gender of a trans person while simultaneously pointing out flaws in how we assign gender in society. Yeah, and nature, apparently. Using he or she as a catch-all. Uh-oh. Hello, my pronouns are they, them, theirs. Oh my god. English teachers said don't use they as a singular, neuter pronoun. I ignored them. You radical free thinker, you. When looking to be inclusive of all people, we often use the so-called gender catch-all he or she. Oh no. But when making it a goal to be inclusive of all people under the transgender umbrella, trans umbrella, it's important to remember that binary pronouns don't fit all genders. Okay, all genders? How many are there? Pretty sure there's only two. I know you're going to say there's like 56 or some shit like that, but no. Non-binary and genderqueer individuals sometimes use pronouns like they, them, and z, her. Z, here? I guess maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's pronounced here because it's spelled differently than her, obviously. So maybe they go for a different pronunciation. You know, I've never heard this shit spoken out loud because nobody actually talks this way. Using he or she actually excludes a group that deserves to be acknowledged. Do they, though? The fix. The limitations of our language make correcting this problem tricky. Intentionally using they as a term to deliberately be inclusive to all genders works well, but may annoy some strict grammar lovers. Damn those strict grammar lovers. I mean, who needs rules anyway? Why don't everybody just talk the way they want, you know, put words where they don't belong, and we'll just try to understand each other. You know, if language doesn't have any rules. Another option, just rework the sentence. It's worth the trouble. For who? I mean, if you're actually going out of your way, you know, to be offended by the fact that somebody just uses a blanket term to refer to a bunch of people quickly, you're putting way too much thought into it. It's really not that big of a deal. You know, nobody's excluding you. In fact, they're treating you the same way they treat everybody else by just throwing you under that same umbrella. You know, I realize you want to be as special as possible and always be individually recognized at all times, but that's just not how it always works. Using the term self-identified to qualify a trans person's gender. Well, I mean, self-identified would be valid in the sense that that's how they identify themselves, but let's find out why that's problematic as well as soon as I open up the actual stream here, just to see. Okay. I'm not going to be monitoring that too much, but just in case. Qualifying gender with the term self-identified may inadvertently suggest that a trans person's identity isn't actually valid. You know, I think that's more a matter of the person's own insecurity. While Stryker says using the phrase self-identified trans man is perfectly fine when it's necessary to indicate someone is out proudly as transgender, as opposed to being out and ashamed of it, using it to qualify their gender, e.g., self-identified man, is a problem. Because you say so, of course. It's not okay to say a self-identified man for a trans man, because that would imply they were only a man to themselves, not others, she says. Well, I mean, to be fair, some people might have a different opinion of that. To put it another way, it would seem silly to call a non-trans man a self-identified man, since no qualifier is needed. Trans people deserve the same consideration of having their gender respected. Well, I mean, the reason why that nobody says self-identified man in reference to I know this is going to be a problem saying this, in reference to a normal person, is that it's already, it's already expected that they are just a man. There's no special qualifier needed. I know they're saying there's no qualifier needed here, but it's either trans people are different from the norm or they're not. I mean, you can't really have it both ways. The fix is obviously just drop the self-identified bit. Saying someone is female-bodied or male-bodied, this is funny because these are like basically all terms that I've never actually seen anybody use in real life, and things that you see people that write those ridiculous Tumblr posts say. And now it's getting to the point where they're going after their own supporters to fix their terminology as well, even though these are words that I've seen used by the people that, fight for this stuff. Most, if not all, trans allies will attest to the fact that thinking in terms of one's standard female or male body is limiting. But well-meaning allies will use the terms female-bodied or male-bodied while trying to be inclusive of trans people, which can be a problem. How many times have she said, which can be a problem? When someone uses the term female-bodied, for instance, they are trying to address non-trans women and trans men. I don't think I've said trans so many times in my life, ever, before this article. But the way they're using language to gender body parts actually suggests a trans man's body isn't truly that of a man. Could it be because biologically it's not? It's important to remember that a trans person's body, no matter their transition or surgery status, is the body of their gender. The fix. Just say what you mean. For example, if you want to specifically address non-trans women, just say non-trans women. Oh, okay. So the solution is to, as you put it, other people that aren't trans. So we're reversing it. That's great. I like the topics here at the bottom: activism, lifestyle, microaggression, social good, LGBT, social. Microaggression and social good. People with actual stuff to do, and even arguably people with not that much stuff to do, don't even have time to sit around bitching about things called microaggressions. Microaggressions don't exist. If somebody's being aggressive, you can tell. It's not this backhanded bullshit. I mean, yes, passive aggressive is a thing, but even then, it's pretty obvious what's going on. A microaggression, though, to me, it uses the word micro. It implies minuscule. It implies not a fucking problem. I just can't believe that these articles actually get published and taken seriously. It's just a joke anymore. While I don't think it's right for people to, go around being dicks to somebody just because they don't agree with their lifestyle. I think it's dumb when you see all these YouTube comment sections when it's like, oh, you're just a man that cut your dick off, and, all that crap. I don't think that helps anything, to be honest. It just makes you look like the hateful person that they're trying to speak out against. So I don't think it's productive to anything. I mean, you can feel however you want to feel about it, but to be outright hateful or rude to people that, you know, haven't really done anything to you specifically is stupid. So while I understand, you know, why people think it's dumb when these articles come out and they try to kind of like change the way we say things or do things just because it's so-called not inclusive enough. Um, yeah, I lost my train of thought, but the point is that this is out of control. I mean, who? My phone is buzzing for some reason. I'm sorry about that if you can hear it on the mic. Um, but this is ridiculous. We don't need to change language to appease absolutely everybody all at all times. You know, you're reading into language a bit too much if you think that it's created just to oppress you or make you feel like you don't exist. You really need to, you know, basically all you need is the first of all, you need self-approval. If you approve of your own life, you don't need validation from everybody else. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that you don't need anybody. Obviously, it's important to have the support of your friends and your family. And if you have that, fuck everybody else. You don't need them. You don't need everybody to recognize your pronouns at all times. And first of all, pronouns are used when you're talking about another person to somebody else. So, you know, let's say I don't walk up to you and I say he or she. I say to somebody else, oh, I went to the mall with her, or I went to the mall with him. It, it just doesn't make sense. But that's it for now on this topic. And I would say that this whole thing where you label everything as transphobia, it definitely, look, I don't even think transphobia is a thing, because phobia implies a fear, and I don't think anybody's actually afraid. They're just annoyed by the constant need to change everything for comfort of people that we don't even know. I mean, like I said, not everybody in the real world is going to make you feel safe or make you feel comfortable, and that's just something we all have to live with. I have to live with it, you have to live with it, trans people have to live with it, especially if they're going to be considered equals. You know, boosting these people up to the top and trying to force the way people talk, the only thing that that's accomplishing is causing resentment towards these individuals, and that's not going to do them any good. And that's really it for now. Thanks for watching, and you know, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Take care.